Kyle, quick! Winter or summer? And why?
Winter, because summer's hot. Cue the episode.
You prefer the cold?
I don't know if I prefer the cold, but I prefer getting cozy. I prefer hot chalky. I prefer warm blankie. And I prefer mild temperament.
Which only happens in the wintertime.
Only in the wintertime. Nah, I like the whole vibe of it. I like the movies. I get to watch me some Santa Claus with an E, you know?
Yeah.
I can't do that in the summer.
Can't. It's illegal.
It's illegal.
crime.
Tim Allen made that illegal. I don't want to make this political.
That is the other Santa Claus.
That is the other. Yeah, that's the second. In the fine print, the other clause.
The other clause is that you can't watch the movie in summer.
Welcome to Butter No Parsnips. Every week on Butter No Parsnips, your hosts Emily Moyers and Kyle Imperator take you on an adventure through the weird, wacky, wonderful, and sometimes even wicked world of one wayside word. Strange characters, delightful bits, and general joyousness abound. Join them as they test each other's etymological expertise.
Hey everybody, welcome to Butter No Parsnips. I'm Kyle Imperator.
And I'm Emily Moyers. Kyle,
Yes.
boy, do I have a word.
Girl, tell me that word.
Okay. Kyle, your word this week is Nesh. N-E-S-H, Nesh. Also
Nesh.
sometimes appears as Nash, N-A-S-H, Naish, N-A-I-S-H, or Nish, N-I-S-H. But
Well,
mostly Nesh.
Nish, that's a potato dish, I believe.
That's a knish.
Oh, man. So there aren't any knishes here today.
No, only nishes and neshes.
It's like Dr. Seuss's alphabet soup.
It does. Looks very
Nish and Nesh
Seussian.
and Nash. Wow, I've got so little to go on here.
Yeah, this one's tough. There's not much to break down here.
Is a Nesh an object? Is it a thing? A noun?
It can be a noun. This is
don't
one of
like
those
where
words
this
that's
is
going to have a
going.
lot of definitions. The
Yep,
one you
yep,
should
yep.
focus on is the adjective.
Adjective. So something is Nesh. Oh boy. Okay, well, all right. If I listen, this is futile, but if I had to break it down, like, you know, when something is like something-ish, it's like kind of a thing, all right? So if this is ish, right? Nish, it's like just a little bit of N, right? And N is an abbreviation here of
This is really fruitful.
nincompoop-ish. Nish.
You got it. Believe it or not, that was 100% completely accurate.
Thank you, everybody.
No.
Oh, okay. Do I get a language of origin? Can I get one of those?
Sure.
I want to say like Germanic, but
It is. Yeah.
yeah.
It is an Old English word of
Old
Germanic
English.
origin.
Emily, I've got nothing to go on. I need a hint.
That's fair. The clue I have for you is shiver. The other clue that I will give you is that before, when I told you it was an adjective, you said, oh, something is Nesh. I would say more commonly, someone is Nesh.
Someone is Nesh. And your adjective is shiver. And
Like,
so,
yeah.
how would you describe a person who is shivering, frostbitten, or...
You're on a good tack right now.
Frostbitten. So, like...
Well, no, I mean, thinking about a person who is shivering is a good direction.
you gave me all that. I didn't really do anything with... I can't take much credit for that. Numb. Does Nesh mean numb?
It doesn't, but I see where your head is at. Do you want one more, or do you want to...
Nah,
throw
just
in-
give it to me.
Fair enough. Kyle, Nesh most often means today delicate or feeble or overly sensitive to discomfort or hardship, but it often specifically means overly sensitive to the cold.
I see.
And today it is most commonly heard in the North and Midlands of England. It's a northern
Because it's colder
word.
up there.
It is, yeah. That's it. That's like 80% of what they have to talk about there is how cold it is.
Nesh today,
Flawless northern accent, Kyle. Loved it.
Emily, tell me more about Nesh.
Absolutely. So Nesh, Kyle, it's one of those words that's been kicking around the English language for as long as there's been an English language kicking around. It was a fairly common word in Old and Middle English, although in earlier uses it often appeared as nesh with an extra unstressed syllable on the end, or even earlier, hnesh with that like breathy guttural sound at the front.
So there was potato delights hidden in this episode.
Different. I think I did literally look up the etymology of knish
If
earlier
it's
because I
related.
just wanted to make sure. It's not. Nesh has had dozens of definitions since the Old English days in several parts of speech. Many are no longer in use, so I thought we'd just sort of buzz through them quickly now and sort of cluster them together.
You know what? If you want, just give it to me. I'll come up with a real fake sentence real quick, zoom through them that really doesn't
seems
use
like-
the word correctly because I won't have processed it. So go.
Yeah, that seems like the quickest way to do it. Or
Yeah.
I could just sort of list them off.
Yeah,
So we'll see how this goes. Kyle's revving his engines, ready to jump in. So, for instance, nesh could be used as a more literal descriptor. As an adjective, nesh could describe the texture or consistency of a thing as soft, tender, crumbling, or yielding.
Oh, so like in like a food context?
Sometimes in food, sometimes like grass or leaves are described as nesh, or flowing water I've seen described as nesh because it just sort of yields to whatever is in its path.
Sure. Stretch, but okay.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, it's nice. I saw freshly baked bread being described as nesh.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's lovely.
It's like when you push your fingers into it, you're like, nesh.
Nesh. As a noun, it could mean that which is soft, often specifically soft ground is described as the nesh.
Like loam.
Sure, loamy ground.
Mm-hmm.
Middle English, later, nesh also extended to describe something like a voice or the stroke of a blade as being not harsh or not with a lot of force,
Oh, okay.
being softer. But nesh's uses as a personality descriptor go back to Old English. In a more positive light, nesh could mean gentle, kind, or inclined to mercy. As a noun, nesh can mean mild or gentle treatment. And as an adverb, to do something nesh could mean to do it softly or gently.
Miss Nesh feels like a Dickensian, like
Yeah.
like maid character.
Yeah, it was very
Miss
kindly.
Nesh taught us arithmetic today.
In a more negative light, though, nesh has been used the same way that we might describe a person as soft, but there's a lot of variation within that.
Sure.
So it could mean emotionally sensitive, it could mean weak or faint-hearted, it could mean lacking courage or timid, and then following from that last one, as an adverb, to do something nesh could mean to do it timidly, and to nesh could mean to act timidly.
So you can Nesh.
Yes, but that would be sort of
You
redundant.
could Nesh.
I don't. Maybe. I'm lost now.
Too many Neshes negates.
Yeah,
it's like a
sorta
double
like-
Nesh
It's
negative.
like three rights make a left,
Yeah.
And then the other big cluster of definitions is nesh could mean delicate, literally like sickly or feeble, or more in a sense of like dainty or squeamish. And then a common extension of that is unable to endure some kind of physical discomfort, usually cold.
Interesting. So the cold connotation, did that develop later?
Probably still within its like old, maybe into Middle English use. I think that has been a connotation of it for a long time. It had, like, even in Old English, it had a lot of definitions, which is crazy.
It's crazy that a word that had so many different uses has, I guess I say limited use now, but I guess I don't know. I just from my American.
Definitely, it does have limited use. It's kind of geolocked in certain places. I was thinking when we talked about pidgin languages that spring up when people without a common language need to communicate, we've mentioned how those languages have fewer words that can be used more loosely. And it occurred to me while during this episode that like that is kind of the case with older languages too. Like they just had a smaller vocabulary, but I think all of these words had like more versatility.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you feel
That's
like
really
you've
interesting.
come across things like that?
I mean, I feel like all of the episodes where we have to talk about Old and Middle English, especially, we're like, here are the 100 things that it meant, and all within 100-year time span. You know, like it's all just like, King Henry V's reign.
Yeah, and like you open up the OED page, and it's like definition after definition after definition, but like they're all sort of near at hand, like they all fit together.
Yeah, very like related senses.
But you can kind of stretch them in different directions.
They're Nesh, that you can stretch them because they're Nesh.
Because they're Nesh. They yield to pressure.
They're yielding, yeah.
So in all these definitions, Kyle, could you pick up on a sort of unifying principle?
Yeah, like the malleability of a thing.
Sure. I would say they all hover around an idea of softness because it's all like, texture-wise it can be soft, personality-wise it can be soft.
Yeah.
The earliest sense of knishes in Old English was probably a literal soft texture, and it likely stems from the Proto-Germanic knishes, meaning soft, tender, or yielding. Funnily enough, the word soft also goes back to Old English, derived from the Proto-Germanic sanft or samfti, meaning soft or gentle, as well as smooth, even, or level.
Okay, sure.
I guess like a soft slope.
Would be smooth.
Right?
Yeah. It wouldn't be even or level.
Well, it like even meaning like not steep? I don't know.
Oh, like, yeah, sure. I can see that. That's good enough for me.
I'm just trying to connect the dots here.
Are there any other words that we have in modern English that come from the same root as Nesh?
We're going to get there, Kyle. Don't you worry.
Okay. All right. Jumping the gun.
Jumping the gun. You don't think I have that in here, Kyle?
No, I don't think you ever, like, what is this, a word podcast? I'm not thinking about that.
So, knishes probably comes from an older Proto-Indo-European root, meaning to scrape, scratch, or rub. Although that far back, it's kind of hard to say with certainty, as I'm sure you well know, Kyle.
I was there, and I can't even remember,
But there are other descendants of knishes in older Germanic languages, like the Gothic knishes, in closer relatives to English, like the Dutch Nesh, and of course in English's closest relatives, the Scots Nesh, all meaning something like soft or tender. As is the case with most English words, cognates exist in all of the Germanic languages. But it also has another descendant in English, and I'll give you a hint. It's a word that doesn't even mean soft at all. Any guesses just based on phonics? Kyle, deep in thought for our listening audience.
I need this. Guys, I need a win today. All right.
Well, so here's the thing. I said at the top, our word is nesh. It also comes in the forms nash, nash, or nish, but there's other vowels you could slot in.
Oh. Nosh.
Nope, that's not
nosh.
One. Nosh.
Like eaten.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. From knishes came the Old High German naskon, meaning to eat dainty food or delicacies.
Oh.
And later the German naschen and the Yiddish naschen, both meaning to snack. And English got it from Yiddish.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
I have an honorable mention. Nasty has been linked to other Germanic words for foul, dirty, or messy. For example, the Swedish naskug and the Danish nasket. Wiktionary says that all of those words, including nasty, quote, probably derive from knishes, but they're not hard on it, and the OED and Etym Online just say origin unknown, so we're not sure. But maybe nasty relates also.
Yeah, that one's harder to draw a connection to.
It is. But Kyle, let's stop noshing on the words of the past, and let's instead get to the main course, which is where and how Nesh is used today. As I said earlier, you are most likely to hear this word in the North and Midlands of England. Nesh also has some use in North Wales, in parts of Scotland, and I think in parts of Canada as well, which is fun. But I wanted to focus on the North and Midlands because I don't think we've talked on this podcast about the dialects of English that exist within England. You know, like we've talked about like the Celtic influences and we've talked about Scots, but I feel like we've never just centered on English dialects in England.
Yeah, it's certainly true. We talk very little about that. We've talked about London dialects a lot.
Sure.
Because we've talked about Cockney and stuff like that.
Do you know anything?
There's Welsh. I could start making up a bunch of town names that I think sound like British. If you start naming them, I'll be like, oh yeah, that one. Oh yeah, that one. Or like, here's the thing for me, all right? I'll like listen to people like do in succession a bunch of different British accents.
Yeah.
Like dialects.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, oh yeah, that one. Oh yeah, that one. Oh yeah, that one. But then if you were like, hey Kyle, what's this accent? I'd be like, I could not even begin to tell you.
I feel like I've watched enough British TV that I do okay. I will say the one that you said, Welsh, is technically not an accent from within England because Wales is a separate part of the UK. It's a separate country, technically.
Cut it from the episode. Everybody, the Welsh are going to be so mad at me.
Well, but it's like they are a part of the UK. They're just not part of England.
Oh,
the UK is weird.
I'm going to get canceled.
No, Kyle, that happened long ago. So, at the most broad level, English dialects in England are divided into the southern dialects, primarily characterized by the various London accents, as well as the West Country. Like if you watch a show like Midsummer Murders that's set in like the Cotswolds, that's the accent there. The northern dialects, primarily characterized by the Yorkshire accent, which, if you're not familiar, is the accent of like Wallace of Wallace and Gromit.
Oh, my cheese.
Yeah, that's the Yorkshire accent.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then the Midlands dialects, which sit both geographically and linguistically between North and South.
Okay.
It's sort of this transitory zone. What is particularly relevant with regards to Nesh is that the Northern dialects have held on to a lot more facets of Old English than Southern dialects do.
You mean like aspects of the vowel sounds or of the vernacular?
So the vernacular, there are definitely differences in vowel sounds between them. I was reading that like there are like a couple of key separations that like people will talk about, like this is how you know the line between North and South. One of them is called the trap bath split, because in the North, trap and bath and words like that all have the same sort of like flat short A, but in Southern England, some words like bath have that long A. They say bath.
Trap and bath.
Trap and bath is how a Southern English person would say it. And then the other one is the foot strut split, because in Southern England, those two words have different vowel sounds, but in Northern England, it is also the same.
I'm like 99% sure the foot strut split won me the dance competition back in the 90s.
You got it. A Northern person would say foot and strut. So they would have the same strut. So they would have the same vowel.
Sure.
But people will say like the minute that those two vowels sound different, you've hit the South. That's it.
That's really interesting. It's interesting because like how long can that be true? You know, like at some point that's got to change, right?
I mean, definitely. But the North has held on to like older facets of the English language. For instance, Northern dialects retain various Old English words like nesh, or canny, meaning clever, is more common in the North, or to gang, meaning to walk, from which we get the word gangplank. The plank that you lay from the ship to the dock. It's the walking plank.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
And that comes from to gang?
To gang, meaning to walk. Yep, which in past tense is gan, G-A-N-E.
Oh, like ganning.
I think you would say ganging, but I'm not positive.
Cut it.
What made you say what made you say ganning?
I don't know. That just felt right to me.
Yeah, but those are all Old English words that stuck around longer, are probably less common today, but are still retained in Northern dialects. The pronouns thee and thou are still used in some rural areas in the North.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? It's, again, becoming less common now, but it is still holding on in some places. And in some cases, thee and thou specifically indicate the singular second person, while you indicates the plural second person.
Interesting. But is that how it was used that is how it was used in Old English, isn't it?
Was it?
I think so. I think that is how it was used. We did talk about thee and thou as used in the Quaker religion.
They
as
just
like
still use it instead of you. They exclusively say
yes, yes. But yeah, because but for like religious reasons,
Yeah.
for like looking down on
Yeah.
each other, I guess, or yeah.
You're right. In Olden English, thee and thou were the singular, and you was the plural. So the North, in certain places, has just retained that dichotomy.
That's fun. And
That
you
is
know
super
what?
fun.
I think we've talked on a recent episode, or maybe in person, about how we wish that there was still like separate words.
We need it.
Break the these and thous out, everybody. No longer just for greeting cards and greeting cards. Dear God, what birthday is this?
All of Kyle's greeting cards say thee and thou.
I meant to say RSVPs.
What, you put it in those too?
Yeah, thee are cordially invited to thou finest.
You're not using these
bat
words
mitzvah.
right.
What? Well, tell me more about Nesh.
Okay. So, Kyle, do you have any guesses as to why these vestiges of Old English would be more present up north?
Because they've still got medieval castles up there that people are living out of.
Living out of just
Living
like
out of,
normal,
yeah.
normal pilgrims
Yeah.
living there.
They've got it like a fridge next to the suit of armor.
Do you think that's how like uber rich people that do live in castles, you think they've just got like a full suit of armor in the kitchen?
No, I mean, yes, but I think the fridge is the suit of armor. I think they open up the suit of armor and there's like, you slot the cans down the leg.
It's like one of those hidden bar carts, but it's a whole fridge.
Yeah.
So there's a few reasons. One is that it's just geographically farther from London, and it has more like isolated pockets, and thus it is farther from the impacts of things like the printing press and the efforts to standardize the English language, which is more remote. The second is that it's just geographically farther from southern Europe, so when the Norman French invaded in 1066, they were making landfall down south, and so the north was sort of cushioned from that influence. And then the third thing is that the North instead saw more invasion and occupation from the Danes and other northern Europeans. And thus the Germanic linguistic influence was sort of reinforced. It was like sort of reasserted in those areas, particularly the areas that were under the rule of the Danelaw, which was like this Danish occupation in England for a long time.
The Danelaw sounds like a really bad, like, SVU.
Yes.
A television show.
Absolutely. But it's just what they call the Norse occupation in England.
The Danelaw.
The Danelaw. One word.
It's good as one word.
It is. But it does look like a show that airs on like ABC.
The Danelaw, starring Pierce Brosnan for some reason. He's back.
Honestly, yeah. It is Pierce Brosnan. I would 100% agree. That's who's
with a beard, though.
That's
with a beard now.
Yeah. Beardy Pierce Brosnan in Danelaw. I'm with you 1000%. It's a crime show, and it's too broody, and it's bad. But I thought all of that was fun because I feel like you and I come across words all the time that are, like the OED will say, this is obsolete except in Scotland and Northern England. And I always assume that it's like a Scottish thing that has trickled down into Northern England. And in some cases that is true. But sometimes it's just a facet of Northern English in its own right.
That's really fun.
And then everything I just said also applies to some parts of the Midlands.
Only some, because it's closer. And so,
well, I think the West Midlands bear more similarity to the North, while the East Midlands leans more south.
If this was taken out of context, no one would have a single clue what you were saying, man.
Truly, because the East Midlands are further north than the West Midlands.
No. Why do we do this?
Well, I
Just
think
give it a name.
I know it's bad because like the region that they call the Midlands is like sort of diagonally upwards. So the east is just further north.
It's the Midlands, depending on what sort of projection map you're
how you
looking
have your
at,
head tilted.
Yeah. Oh, I dropped my globe. That's the East Midlands.
Yeah, I think I was reading when there were like the standardization efforts in like happening in London, the efforts to standardize the English language. One of the places they were looking at as like the type example of this is what we want English to sound like was the East Midlands. So that accent became like the voice print of like a normal English accent. Normal in quotes. So that's why today we think it bears more similarity to the Southern.
I'm interested to know why that was chosen, but I feel like that's another episode.
It is, yeah. We could probably do like a whole thing on the standardization of English. Put that on the list.
Put it on the list. Hey, Squire, can you please put after Danelaw starring Pierce Beardsman? Can you just put underneath that? Oh, and also under get milk, eggs, bread.
Yeah.
Can you put do an episode on the standardization of English? Yeah, thank you. Got it. Love the Squire.
It is Seth that he's talking to.
It is, yeah.
Down in the dungeon. So, to round out today's episode, I wanted to sort of bookend us. At the top, I gave you that skim of Nesh's original and myriad definitions. Now, I want to just focus on those very few meanings that you actually might hear or use. Using the word Nesh to mean things like soft or delicate or feeble or timid, those do still get used, but rarely. But today, Nesh tends to mean one of two things. One, most common by far, wimpy about cold weather. I have a quote from 2008 from a community forum of a British weather service.
Love
Something that doesn't need to have a forum, I would say.
Clearly it does, if someone's posting on it.
In 2008, which was like the era of the forum.
Also the era of weathercasting.
Was it?
Yeah.
Back that up.
Now, okay. Yeah. Yeah. All right. You want me to back that up? Absolutely.
Give me the receipts.
All right. Okay. Oh, hey Squire, and let's do another episode on weather forecasting in the aughts. Okay, thanks.
A user from South Yorkshire has made a post on this British weather forum titled, "Have we actually forgotten what cold is?" And they write, quote, "Got to admit, should I do? I'll do the accent. I'll do the accent today. Actually, honestly, Yorkshire is one I feel okay about as like a passable accent for an American ear. I think it's not bad. If there are any listeners from Yorkshire, I'm sure it's bad, but I think it's good.
Eat your puddings and shut up."
All right. This user writes, quote, "Got to admit myself, I thought today was cold, certainly compared to some days last January. Mainly the reason why I thought it was cold was the strong breeze, but then I realized I was being rather soft. Nesh, as we would say round here."
It's Ringo Starr! He's in the podcast!
That's not how I thought that accent was going to come out, but Seth did a Ringo Starr before we got in the podcast, so that colored my impression.
I was really good, Em. It was great. I love it. Nice.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Nesh, sure.
So that's how it often gets used today. The other one, this is a definition I didn't give at the top because it emerged a bit later, and honestly, I'm not clear on why.
Okay.
But Nesh can also be used to describe the weather as being chilly, damp, and unpleasant.
Oh.
Why that is soft weather, I don't get.
Well, I don't think it is. I think it's not related to soft. I think it's just related to people being unhappy about the weather. You know what I mean? I don't think it has a relation to soft. I think probably people just forgot the soft connection and were like, oh, these, if you're Nesh about the weather, then it's Nesh weather, right?
I guess so. But this definition, it has been around since Middle English, I think, but later in Middle English.
Never mind then.
Yeah, right?
I take it all back. That's interesting. Well, wait. Yeah. Hold on. Actually, if it's bad weather, then all the things that are coming down are Nesh, no?
Oh, sure. Yes, because I did see among Nesh can mean damp as like of a thing. So I guess maybe that's it.
There you go.
It's like soft because it's wet.
And it makes you Nesh.
And it makes you Nesh.
It softens you up.
It softens you up. Yeah. The OED lists a tweet from 2012 in which @Mitchell_Beers writes, Nesh is an understatement. It's freezing. The tweet was too old for me to find it, so I have no context for that, but it's freezing.
Don't need it. We're going to assume that it was, when was Hurricane Gloria? 1980s? Yeah, that sounds about right.
But I find this definition of Nesh hilarious because that is also a definition we talked about in episode 117, Dree, and it just feels so emblematic of like, boy, the UK has one weather, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Cold and rainy. That's it.
Cold and rainy.
And all of their words are just complaining about it or dunking on other people for complaining about it. We're allowed to be upset. You're not allowed to be upset.
You can't put up with this thing that we have to deal with every day in some sort of Sisyphean nightmare.
Screw you. Kyle, I've reached the end of my spiel, and I don't want you to wimp out on me because now I'm going to ask you to use Nesh in a sentence.
Absolutely, Emily. Wow. Certainly. I am no Nesh head. That's not the sentence because that didn't make any sense. But I've got a sentence in me. I'm just gonna
shaking it out of him.
Shaking it out, I'm wet like a wet dog. During the summer months, I long for the winter. But it's more so the idea of the winter because when the winter comes and there is bad weather, I get awfully Nesh about having to go outside.
Very good. Excellent use. You got it.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you.
Kyle, would you like to play a game?
Please.
Kyle, the game I have for you is called Niche and Nesh phrases. Niche is not related. I checked.
You're like, sure.
So there are a few fixed phrases in which the word Nesh has been used. Mostly defunct, but definitely fun, and some still kicking around. So I'm going to give you a phrase that has the word Nesh in it. I want you to guess what it means. If you get it wrong, I'm going to give you a quote so you can hear the phrase in context and try again. Because we're all about growth over proficiency here at BNP.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely.
Yep.
I've grown 135% since my first episode here. But unfortunately, I was 6 inches tall in the first episode, so it really doesn't...
Yeah, we used to have to zoom in a lot. That's why we didn't have video for the first 100 episodes.
It's true.
Kyle was too small. All right, Kyle, what does for hard or nesh mean?
Oh, for hard or nesh.
Yeah.
For hard or soft. Just like in any circumstance.
Kyle, you got it.
Yeah.
Yep. It means under any or all circumstances. Various forms of this phrase existed in Middle English, but whatever the connecting words are, often when you see hard and nesh being used in conjunction, it means something along the lines of like thick and thin.
Sure.
You got that one right. You didn't even need the quote. You're amazing.
Do you want to give the quote anyway?
Sure. It was used in this quote from a Middle English epic poem set in the run-up to the Trojan War. Quote, "Hold we together for hard or nesh."
Listen, did they win?
Wikipedia said it's a poem that sort of paints the run-up to the Trojan War as like a romantic tragedy.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they did back then.
I guess so. I was going to say it feels like a very modern thing to do, but I guess we've just been doing it since time immemorial.
Romantic tragedy. What was that awful Christmas film we watched?
Oh my God. I love that Kyle said, what was that awful Christmas movie we watched? Like, I'm going to say something so obscure right now, but what I'm going to say is Love Actually is the answer.
Actually, yeah. A romantic tragedy.
Yeah, we hated that.
God, what a terrible movie.
Kyle, what does it mean to nesh it?
Oh, to nesh it.
You've neshed it.
You've beat it? Like made it soft?
No.
That doesn't make sense. Crumbled it.
Well, you've gotten it wrong. I'll use it in a sentence for you. It was used in this quote from a British news article in 1995. So this one, very late use. Mm-hmm. And I apologize for giving you sports, Kyle, but I think they're talking about rugby here. Mm-hmm. Quote, Fullbacks who held back from sliding tackles were accused of neshing it.
Oh, just like, so neshing it in this sense is like being nesh, so being weak or soft or like giving up.
Yeah, but it means to back out or lose one's nerve, like to chicken out is to nesh it, which I think is super fun.
That's good.
Yeah, I like that one. Last one, Kyle. What does as nesh as a carrot mean?
It means it's been in my fridge for a while. Oof, boy. See my carrots there. There's some soft things. It just means very soft, I'm guessing.
It means weak or timid, used in this quote from a blogger discussing his father's complaints when his favorite football team wasn't doing well. Quote, besides labeling several players as nesh as carrots, he would sum up the team's abilities by saying he would not pay them with bottle caps nailed upside down to a rotting piece of wood.
Yeah, I wouldn't pay anyone with that, honestly, because it sounds like a lot of work on my part.
And had no monetary value. I mean, Kyle, you got it spot on, but if anyone listening is like me, you might have thought that this meant the opposite in reference to the fact that carrots are notably pretty hard, but I think that comes down to the fact that we've selectively cultivated carrots that are crunchier, while natural carrots are more thin and bendy.
Yeah, carrots, back in old English days, carrots actually used to be the consistency and texture of cold hot dogs. And shape. And taste.
Yeah, they were just cold hot dogs that grew out of the ground. It was great.
Yeah, it's honestly awesome. And now it's like, I gotta eat a carrot, you know?
Kyle, you got 3 for 3. You're incredible.
Thank you, Emily. I didn't nesh it this episode.
Didn't. You brought it.
And neither did you. This was quite a firm episode that you've provided us today.
That's good. I was
did
worried
not
about
crumble. No,
That's
it's
good.
great. I mean, again, like, it's good to talk about all those interesting dialects in England.
There is like so much more to talk about. They're fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an ingrained part of the English language that we don't often cover as Americans, but is like there, is a part of how the language is developed. So that's fun. And we learned so many old Englishy terms and how they've evolved to modern day. So we love it.
That's a win.
It's a win. That's a win. Trojan War, we won it. And everybody at home, if you were on our side in the Trojan War, it's a computer virus war, then you can remember that you can watch us on YouTube at Butterno Parsnips, and you can find Butterno Parsnips on other social media on Facebook and Instagram at Butterno Parsnips Podcast, and on TikTok at Butterno Parsnips. And if you liked today's episode, consider giving us a 5-star rating or review wherever you heard us.
And if you really liked today's episode, consider donating to our Patreon at patreon.com/butternoparsnips. Donating $5 or more gets you exclusive access to Buttered Parsnips, our after-hours podcast.
Thanks so much to all of you. You are the guys who help us make what we make.
And with that, I've been Emily Moyers.
And I've been Kyle Imperator, and this has been Butter No Parsnips.
Butter No Parsnips is produced by Seth Glicksman, Kyle Imperator, and myself, Emily Moyers. The main and accompanying themes were composed by Kyle Imperator.